Hi, my name is CJ and this is my RC channel. In this video, I'm going to be unboxing a Creality Ender 3 Pro 3D printer. I purchased this on Banggood. You can find them on Amazon, a variety of wholesalers. There was a nice after holiday sale going on Banggood, so I took advantage of that. I'm actually a little confused because I was just looking over here and it says Ender 3 Pro. Now I thought I was buying the Ender 3, the basic. There's some basically upgrades, and it looked from the boilerplate on the website that the real differences were the contact sheet and the board, the controller board, that made it run more quietly. It has something that works with the stepper motors to take some of the kind of noise that those motors tend to make to dial that out. Looked into it a little more carefully after I'd already had the item shipped, and realized there was a little more to it than just those two items. The Pro is supposed to have a different, some of the rails are thicker. They're the double width instead of the single width. And that goes for one of the rails that goes underneath that holds the tray, the build tray. So, and there were a few other small things, but you know, it kind of added up that it was like, wow, I wish I'd really gotten the Pro, but it was a good bit more. You're talking the difference of about $100 on an item that starts at about $130, $150 for the Ender 3. Now, you know, these are all small improvements in the overall scheme of it. The Ender 3 is a good 3D printer from what I've heard. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people think it is one of the best entry-level 3D printers. It's certainly capable of printing a wide range of different plastics. So, you know, there's always room for more. How much money do you have to invest, you know, at any one moment? And if you're just trying to get into it and you want to dabble and you're not sure if this is something that's really going to be that productive for you, starting with a base model and then, you know, upgrading various components. You may not be able to upgrade everything, like the rails, for example. Switching the board is no problem. The board is available separately, the upgrade board, and so is the upgraded build tray. But some of the stuff would be a little harder to do. You'd have to, you know, buy the rail material, cut it to size, and it would be a pain. So if you can muster the money for the Pro, I would go that way right off the bat. Otherwise, you know, go with the 3 and upgrade the important items a piece at a time. One of the really neat things about this printer is the amount of add-ons, I would say, modifications that are 3D printable that improve this item here. For example, there's an area where the cables go across one of the rails, and the cables can catch on the rail as the tray moves and can get hung up, and that can cause your print to fail. So this is a great community. The 3D community are, you know, they just love tinkering. They are the ultimate do-it-yourselfers. And so the community has come up with so many little add-ons, like a plastic piece that goes on the end of that aluminum rail that curves downward toward the tabletop so that the cables will slide up and track over top of the rail and not catch against it. And it's just little knickknacks like that. You know, things like there's some space in the front in between one of the main rails and the control box, and people have designed little sets of drawers that you can basically just plug in there, so you can keep little spare parts like nozzles and things like that handy with the printer. All kinds of stuff. And some of these things, like that little curve piece, for example, really improve the overall quality and the reliability of this 3D printer. So definitely things to look at. I'm going to do a bunch of those. You know, some of them are repeats. Multiple people have designed the same item in different styles. And so I'm going to go through a bunch of them, build them, put them on. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of videos on the 3D printer and 3D printing in general. Some of those videos are going to be general. I'm going to start by doing a series on assembly, and I'm going to assemble this as is. I ordered a bunch of stuff, you know, small things to improve and modify this, like some better hose, a couple of different nozzles, some isolators, basically like a pair of metal plates with a rubber grommet fused in between them that you remount the stepper motors, and it isolates the stepper motors away from the metal frame. There's a teeny bit of flex involved, but everybody says that it doesn't affect the printing quality at all, and it dramatically reduces the noise level. There's all kinds of printable fan shrouds and fan ducts to blow air over the print as it's being printed. You want the plastic to come out nice and hot and liquid, and then you want it to cool immediately so it doesn't have a chance to run, so that things like little overhang edges and stuff print properly. So I'm going to start by setting it up as it is, doing some prints, and then I'm going to do modifications. The first thing that's going to be interesting to see is whether this actually is a Pro, and I got the Pro for the price of the 3, and not to mention the sale price on that as well. So that would have been quite a bargain. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a look in the box. Let's pull this out. I'm going to start putting it together over a series of videos, and then I'm going to go into the modification and upgrading process. And then I'm going to, as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos with this. I am probably going to print at least one or more complete planes. I'm probably going to do some like hybrid. I'm thinking about doing a 3 to 4 meter glider with, you know, basically taking a carbon fiber tail boom and some carbon fiber tube stock to stiffen up the wings. I read an article by a gentleman who was trying to print a decent sized glider 3D printed, and he was able to get the wing to be stiff enough, but he was having torsion issues. And I think that putting a good carbon fiber rod, or not a rod, a tube, I picked up some 12 millimeter outer diameter, 11 millimeter inner diameter. So it's a 0.5 millimeter thick tube wall. So they're nice and light, and they are 1.5 meters each. I'll probably trim those to 1 meter lengths, and then use those to build 4 wing sections and build a 4 meter glider for F3J. And so the things that would be 3D printed would be the main structure of the wing, less the carbon fiber, the front end of the fuselage that would made up with the tail boom, and the tail feathers. So we'll see how that goes. I'm planning to use this a lot for small items as well, things like electric motor mounts. And it's also going to be important to choose the right plastic. So I'm going to be talking about different plastics. I've got a handful of different filaments on order. I've got some couple of different plastics, and I've got one of the combinations. It is blended with carbon fiber. If you are not already aware, there are filaments that are, let's say, 20 to 30% wood pulp. So your 3D printed item will look like, let's say, cedar or birch, or bamboo is another one that is out there. And the cedar sounds really neat because you'll actually smell the cedar. It's not going to smell like a piece of plastic. It's going to smell like cedar. And because there's that, 20 to 30% wood fiber in there, the output is sandable and stainable. So there's a lot that can be done with this. I've got some ideas for some things I want to make for around the house. I've seen some really nice little widgets on Thingiverse and a couple of other sites, and I'll be giving you guys links to those. And this is going to do a lot down the road. There's some of the things I think I might use it for RC plane related. For example, I have an old plane that I've been talking to you guys about from time to time, the Porterfield Collegiate. Large Cub type aircraft in the 60-inch wingspan range, plus or minus. That was a very, very old kit, on the order of 40 years old, and I got it incomplete way back then, and it was in storage, and so I'm basically building from plans and scrap wood. A lot of the parts got lost or misplaced, and I've had to rebuild and remake things and redesign parts of the fuselage to go with more, modern type of setup, because, motors and such changed dramatically over, 35, 40 years. Anyway, it is missing the nose cowl. So one of the things I'm considering is possibly printing the cowl, or printing a mold for the cowl. So do the prototyping, mold, print up a cowl, design it, maybe have to print one or more iterations to get the right size and style going and the right look. Then make that into a mold and make it, and then use fiberglass to create a nice extra light cowl that, would be strong enough. Not that printing it wouldn't be strong enough. It might be a little heavy, might not. Again, something that I'm going to experiment with, and it's something that I'm going to cut you guys in on so you can benefit from my experimenting and failures and glorious successes as well. So anyway, now that I've chatted enough, let's get a look in the box. Depending on whether you saw some of my more recent videos, you may notice that the horrible hum is gone. The fluorescent light overhead, the ballast was starting to get old, and it was making an outrageous amount of noise. I went up to Home Depot, looked around. I was gonna just replace with another fluorescent bulb lamp, just get the lamp and use the bulbs I already had. And I found an LED that was a little bit less, the same size, and comparable lumens. And I thought, you know what, I got to try this. It's a whole lot lighter, so it was easier to hang, and it doesn't make a peep. It's as quiet as can be, and it's safer, I think. Having those glass bulbs overhead, I didn't have a plastic shield over them. And, one of those bulbs get loose and drops, and you've got a heck of a chemical spill to deal with. There's all kinds of nasty stuff in fluorescent bulbs, like mercury and whatnot. And that's a big tube. I'd never get all that out of here. So I am happy to have that gone and have a nice, quiet LED overhead lamp. Sooner or later, I was going to open this box. Okay, right off the bat, we got a US power adapter. Okay. Directions. And let's see, which model do I have here? Pull some stuff out. Oh, wow, I did get the Pro. I don't believe this. Banggood really did me right. Okay, the reason I can tell this is a Pro, right here. This is a double wide piece right here, like these. That means the uprights are also going to be double wide for the gantry. So I did get a Pro, which means it's got the upgraded board. And it's going to have, yes, it's got the magnetic deck, so it's got the modified deck. Wow, this just blows my mind because I have something I got to return. I already bought the upgraded board, so I'm either going to send this back or put it up on eBay, one way or the other. But I've already got that installed, so that's one less thing I need to upgrade. I think I paid on sale $119. This is normally $269. Wow, I feel like I absconded with something. Okay, so that is part of the, no, that's the, that is the actual extruder right there. That's the tip. So I wish I had a little more space here. I need to move the box out of the way. Let me just set this down carefully. Another thing that the Pro comes with is a better power supply. This is supposed to be a very nice power supply. I forget what the exact differences are from one to the other. Important note, this is default set to 220. No, AC 230, and being in the United States, I need to switch that to 115 volts. So I'm just getting that done right now. That's the first thing you should do because you don't want to forget. Otherwise, your printer is not going to work correctly. So, sorry, I'm kind of just setting stuff down because I need to get this box out of the way. Yep, there's more underneath. Well, that's nice. They even give you a little spatula to scrape up your prints. That's for the spools. Another stepper motor. See, these are those bigger rails I was talking about. Looks like they provide some test filament. Power cord. I'm just going to swap this out for a, this is just a standard PC kind of interface that you're going to find on a lot of different electrical items. So instead of bothering with this, I'm going to go ahead and just grab one of these out of a box. I have a whole bunch of them, kind of like the hobby boxes up top. I was in IT for decades, and so I've got multiples of every cable known to man for computers. But you never know when you're going to need one, and this is one of those occasions. So it's nice to have them handy. So this can be closed up and thrown away. little pack of tools. This little thin wrenches here are going to be handy because you got to adjust the deck from time to time, and it's a tight fit down there. Some interesting stuff in here, some handy zip ties. Not sure what's inside that cardboard. We'll find out in a few minutes. We have an assortment of metric hardware. And this is another thing that I kind of picked up when I placed this order. I went a little crazy, and I know that I'm going to be building some things that are going to be not necessarily RC oriented, things for around the house, and I'm going to want to use some hardware to bolt things together. One of the things that you can do with 3D prints, if you need to bolt two pieces together or have something that can rotate on a you know, an axle or a pivot point that would just be like a bolt, instead of using regular nuts, which of course you can use, you can take inserts, like threaded brass inserts, and using a soldering iron to heat it and press it into the plastic. So basically melting it in after you've molded your part, and then it becomes a permanent resident, and then you can thread stiff in. So I bought a couple of boxes of assorted hardware. I bought two types of let's see, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bolts in 4 or 5 different lengths, 2 different head types, the round Allen cap style, and then the narrower style. I got a box of assorted washers. I got a box of assorted inserts in, you know, M2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have it on hand for when I do want it and need it. I hate having to drive up to the hardware store for like 4 bolts and then paying a premium price. It was a little expensive getting all of that stuff at one time, but you know, now I'm going to have like, you know, 600 pieces of bolts, and you know, 400 washers, and you know, 600 inserts, etc. So, you know, I'm going to have them for a long time. It cost me only about, you know, $10 to $12 per box of these things. And you can spend that much in a single trip to the hardware store for a few miscellaneous items. So that's going to be nice to have down the road. I already know what some of these are for, having looked over this previously. There's the controller board. Well, this is the interface. There's the actual controller board's over here. So this is the front side. The back is over here. Now, another thing that I ordered as an upgrade was cable tensioners. So this bracket is going to get removed for a piece that has a twist knob. So you can loosen the anchoring bolts, dial in the tension on the belt, and then tighten it back down again. And same type of piece, but different, but for the other belt. Little things like that. So, you know, this is definitely going to cost me more than the original. Not discussing the discount, but I have added some updates into this project already. So those things run the overall price up. In theory, I might have been able to get another printer of a different brand or whatever. Not really worried about it. I'll give you guys a breakdown on all the different items I get and prices. So if you're interested in upgrading your Ender 3 or your 3 Pro, you'll have that information and links. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.